Alrighty, traders. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the I almost said the lunch money webinar, but it's not the lunch money webinar. It's the Daily Roundup. We used to do a lunch money webinar way back in the day. Anyway, yeah, a lot of movement today, obviously. So let's talk about it. And because Alexander asks, cable's moving strong, might be good to hold for longer. I think the cable looks good, and by the way, this is the pretty bullish breakout today. I mean, above 132. I am a little concerned regarding the dollar, just because you're seeing some pretty key rejections. But let's start off with the cable, just because you asked. This is my biggest concern, and let me pull up a chart that's clean. All right. When I say clean, little written drawn on it. Let's go over to the daily chart of the cable. Now, what you'll notice here, if you go from the highs of 2018 to the lows that just happened this year, we're at the 618 retracement, right? That is a bit of a concern, because obviously, it's a key fib level. The flip side to that is we've now broken that 2-year trend line. So that's the good news. If you're bullish and you're long, okay. The bad news is that we're hitting the 618, and the question is, what happens here? I think the chances of it continuing to go higher are good, because stocks are so well, they look good. But like I said, the risk is that if the market turns lower, do keep in mind, we are at all-time highs in equities, right? And we are struggling to get above 3,400. Not saying that we won't get above 3,400 in the S&P, but we are struggling to get above it. And you can see the rejection today. It's probably got a few people nervous, myself included. That it's not just. It's a very tricky area when the S&P is where it's at. So I think the cable looks good as long as we stay above 3150. 3150 is kind of my don't really want to be long anymore. And you can see I have an alarm set up there. And if you look at the pattern in play, I had to move up the invalidation point. I actually would like to just see it trading and holding above 132, frankly. But it looks good for now, right? One of the other things that looks really great is the euro. The euro's holding up. I mean, we're holding the breakout point. Look, we rallied above 119. We held it. We dropped to 119.10, the breakout point, and we've held it. So, all in all, the dollar looks weak, and it continues to look good. And one of the reasons why that is happening is because stocks are so strong. Are there risks currently? Yeah, I believe so. And matter of fact, I'm really thinking about what I'm going to do here. Because I am long some dollar Canadian, and long some dollar Mexican peso too. I picked it up down here. See, you can see currencies like the dollar Mexican peso. I mean, we broke this downtrend line. That was pretty big. We break above 22.25, and it's pretty bullish. The dollar Canadian is holding this long-term trend line. You can see this one here. Let's go. This is the multi-year trend line. You know what? I'm gonna pull up a cleaner chart that has not got so much of the minutia drawn on it. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Let's do that. And let's go back over to the dollar Canadian. So the dollar Canadian, if you take this, previous all-time high, or not all-time high, but you know what I'm saying, and drop it across the top there, all we're doing is we're retesting. Let me reset that. We're retesting the broken trend line here. So again, there's certain pairs that are actually bucking the trend where we have to, you have to be a little, cautious. So your comment, which is perfectly suited for this question, says, so management wise, it's good to take some profit and leave it up to faith. Yeah, and I think that's I really think that's the right answer. It's like, okay, if you got a nice profit in the cable, you picked it up, why not move stops to break even, or move stops to wherever you think is appropriate, take some off the table, and hope that the equity markets continue to break out. If they continue to break out, the dollar should stay weak. But again, the flip side to that is, if stocks roll over, the dollar is going to strengthen, and you'll probably see it come through, the dollar Canadian. You'll see it come through the dollar Mexican peso, which is holding up pretty well. Those are the currencies that it's going to show up in, the dollar strength first, in my opinion. And you start to see those move up, then that you might have a failed breakout attempt. Some other things that are a little concerning to me. Let me take you over to the Aussie really fast. Here's the Aussie, right? Now, if you take this is you guys remember this big triangle here, right? Right, that one. Look at the highs. Okay, so there was the highs. I'm sorry, 161% extension. That comes in at 72.55. It's been up there for eons, right? Since we broke out. We basically hit a new high, traded above that 161% extension and failed. Now, it's still early in the day. You can say it's failed right now, but again, you look at the NASDAQ looked great. S&P is still holding up pretty well. Dow's kind of underperforming still, but as long as stocks continue to look good, the Aussie should do all right. But the risk here is if the Aussie starts to show a failure by the end of the day, we might have a situation where the Aussie pulls back, and then that could weigh on other dollar pairs, right? So that's something else that I think we should keep an eye on going into the end of the day. Kiwi is still kind of underperforming as well. Knocking our head up against 66 cents, and 65 cents is obviously support. And one of the other things that's got me a little concerned too about risk, and I know that the correlation is not great, but the dollar yen really failed, and the dollar yen's holding up at 105.30, which you guys know from earlier. If you listen to the FACE webinar, this is pretty key support here, right? So if the dollar yen and other yen pairs start to break down, maybe that's a signal that other things are going to start moving too. Just again, I think this is a really tricky area for the market. Because I can argue based on what I'm seeing in currencies that stocks go higher or stocks can go lower based on what I'm seeing in currencies. I could make either argument, and usually what I like to see is something where I'm like, okay, I can't really argue that. Dollar's weak, dollar's strong, and I can get on board with being really bullish risk or whatever, or bearish risk, or however I'm feeling at that time. But that's kind of how I'm viewing the FX market right now. You just have to be a little bit careful with positions that you got going on, because it's definitely choppy out there. Really choppy, and I think it's a big tug of war right now between the bulls and the bears as we trade at all-time highs, or all-time intraday highs, but all-time highs in the S&P. It is a push-pull tug of war, and I don't know who's going to win. But if I had to, if I had to guess right now, the bulls are going to win because the S&P continues to hold up pretty well, right? It's not like the S&P's rolled over or breaking down. All right, guys. Jane said, the Euro Canadian is clear. Oh, I believe the Euro Canadian is very clear. I mean, if you want to play like the, I think the Euro Canadian, this is a position I've got going on. This is a big cup and handle pattern, right? Developing. This is obviously it could look like that, but I think the Euro Canadian looks extremely bullish. The scary thing about this one is, you know, if we break out, you think about like an actual breakout above like 160, 161. I mean, this thing could really rip higher. So anyway, guys, if you're listening to this after the fact, I want to say, come join ForexAnalytix. So this way you don't have to, you know, listen to this after the fact. For those of you that are listening to this while I'm broadcasting, thank you for your support. And remember, you know, to try out ForexAnalytix, it's only $1 for 10 days. And this way you get to try out the premium version. So thank you guys that are listening in right now, though, because I appreciate all of your support and helping out and, you know, being part of our community. So you guys have a great one. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Brock, and Jane, and everybody else too. Have a great one.